The world narrows to a single bright pane and the sound of my own blood. There's glass under my cheek, sticky and hot, and the night smells like gasoline and something metallic that tastes like regret. I can't remember how I got here. I can't remember faces, only flashes. A shove, a scream swallowed by pavement, a phone skittering out of my hand and cracking like an animal. Then there's a voice, low, controlled, the kind of voice that snaps a leash and knows how to hold a storm. Don't move, it says. I do anyway. Because whatever is pulling me up is the only warmth left in the world and I'm tired of cold. Strong arms under my ribs. Leather, callous, the steady pressure of someone who has hauled himself up through worse. Hands that do not tremble. You're alive, he says simply. His breath ghosts across my ear. For the first time since the hot flash of impact, I feel air in my lungs that isn't screaming. Who are you? My voice is a broken twig. He answers with a name the way other people say prayers. Callan. No last name. No explanation. Just Callan, like a promise and a warning rolled into one. He pulls me to my feet with a motion that's both rough and efficient. He's huge in a way the dark hides but the streetlight reveals. Broad shoulders in a soaked jacket, dark hair plastered to his forehead, a jaw set like concrete. There's dried dirt on his knuckles, a bruise blooming like a map. He moves with the precise economy of a man who's seen too much and learned how to survive anyway. Behind him, a car's engine fades. I realize I'm alone with him on the curb, shaking, the city a smear of tail lights. He presses an index finger to the corner of my mouth, checking for blood. His touch is brief, authoritative, and I feel myself do something I don't intend. Lean into the small steadiness of his palm. You can't stay here, he says. They'll come back. How do you know? My words are thin as tissue. Because nothing that hurts like that does it once, he replies. People who hurt others have a rhythm. His voice is clinical. It's also personal. Like he knows the cadence of predators the way others know weather. He helps me into his car like I'm a fragile thing he can't afford to break. No one asks questions. He doesn't introduce himself beyond Callan. He drives without music, without flashlight. Only the highway and the way his knuckles whiten, the way his jaw works when he's thinking. At a motel on the edge of the city, he rents a room in a name I don't record, something small and anonymous. He drags a stiff, scratchy towel across my face and hair. His hands brisk, efficient. He's not tender exactly, but the small practicalities of his care, the bandage folded with exactness, the antiseptic poured without ceremony, feel like late concessions and deliberate kindness. Why are you helping me? I ask, finally, voice rasping. The question is fundamental. Motive matters in a world where the wrong kind of help comes with strings sharp as knives. He looks at me then, those eyes like granite. Because I was there, he says. Because I have done this before. Because you were left like meat. I taste bile and anger. So you're a good Samaritan? A hero. I'm not a hero, he says. Heroes don't watch people like vultures come back. Heroes don't stake claims. I'm someone who takes responsibility when other people won't. Responsibility. Claim. The words lay themselves across me like handcuffs. I don't like the sound of them, but the bandage at my temple, the steady warmth of his jacket against my back, and the echoing absence of the world make me forgive the words before I even mean to. Callan doesn't ask my name until the third cigarette he offers, outside in the back alley where the motel's neon buzzes like a trapped insect. I tell him because names feel like currency. My voice is a rusted hinge. Nora. Nora. He tries it once like a man tasting a wine. You're lucky. Most of the time people don't come back from what you had. I thought I was dead, I say. I thought. You don't have to say it. He kills the cigarette under his heel. The motion is simple and precise. You don't have to remember everything. You only need to remember how to stay alive. He offers me a phone, a burner, a number he says is for him. Call if something follows, he tells me. If you see any familiar cars. If you hear a rhythm. And if I don't want you watching me? The words shock me with their brightness. I don't know why I ask them. Maybe to see if he'll stay anyway. He shrugs like the question is naive and revealing all at once. Then you'll be alone. There's no promise in it, only fact. I sleep lengthless that night, broken into small dreams of sirens and light. He sits in the plastic chair outside the door until day, watching the motel lot like a hawk. When I wake, he's still there. He's not smiling, but his presence is steady as a lighthouse. It comforts me in the way a bruise is comforting. Proof that something happened even if it hurts. Callan does not ask for money. He does not ask for sex. He asks only for a sliver of information I can barely give. Where I live, if I go to work, if there are people who would notice if I vanished. You deserve better than being prey, he says once, like a code and a confession. How do you decide? I ask. Who gets your protection and who doesn't? He looks at me with a weight I cannot read. There's no decision, he says. I don't choose. I respond. The ones who are left on the curb are the ones who find me. It's a terrible, honest sort of ownership. It's not legal. It's not polite. It sits outside law and civility and everything I've been taught to trust. But there is something about the way he says it's soft and relentless that makes my chest clamp in odd, tender ways. Callan becomes the reason my phone stops buzzing with insurance calls. He arranges a temporary place for me with a woman who runs a shelter off the records. He meets men who claim they were just passing by. And his voice on the phone is a low steel that makes things happen. He hires an investigator who shakes loose a trail. A van that waits 3 nights under the same streetlight. A number that routes through payphones. A man with a name that stinks of low-level violence. They don't find everything. Some things stay like shadow stains. But they find enough that the pattern becomes a map. A man, Aaron M. Petty Records, a history of escalation. It's a name more than a face. It's a knot you can tug and hope a loose thread comes free. One evening, Callan comes to the shelter with an old duffel and an intensity that makes the air change. He's been away longer than usual. His jaw set in a way that makes me uneasy. He smells like diesel and rain. I found him, he says. Aaron M. He's been low and stupid for a while, but he's not alone. He's not acting alone? The word multiplies the danger. No, Callan's hands work like a machine as he unpacks papers and a small collection of photos. He lays them out like a dossier. A van, a face in profile, a sequence of license plate numbers. He looks up at me, and for the first time I see a softness lodged under his hard lines. You don't have to testify, he says. You don't have to go through that. I can make it stop. You can. My voice is a small thing in a big room. He nods. I can make it small. I can make him one broken thing less in the world. The way he says it is casual and final, like he's discussing a broken fence. But I see the edge behind his eyes, the knowledge of consequence he carries like a second skin. There's a part of me that wants to protest morality. There's another part that has felt the weight of a man's hand before, and knows the darkness of being left to hold the pieces. I swallow the righteous words and fold them into my pocket with my bruised ribs. Survival, I decide, tastes like compromise. Callan moves like a shadow and a gale. Aaron M. is found sitting in a car on a side street near my old apartment, because Callan sent a text and men who know how to read patterns did what they were asked. They don't hurt him, at least not in front of me. They make him understand power, show him what being watched feels like when the watcher is patient and cruel. They leave a message on his phone with a sound so low and a voice so sure that I can't imagine he'll ever look at a lone woman the same way again. You owe me nothing, Callan says later. He says it like it's true and also like it isn't. Because soon the shelter is quiet, my nights long and no longer shadowed by van headlights. I go back to work in fits, learning to move through the world as if the world hasn't been brandmarked. The problem is simple and complicated. The more he protects, the more territory he claims. People notice. Friends ask awkward questions. My sister says cautiously, "Who is he?" As if the answer should be a socialite name. I cannot explain the man who drives a battered pickup and leaves no card. He's a guardian, I say, which is not a lie and not the whole truth. Callan begins to appear at my edges like a second weather system. He pops up when I leave work late. He pays my rent directly until my savings can keep up. He stands in the doorway of the cafe and watches me like a sentinel. He looms, not as ownership force from the outside but as guardianship assumed, and I find myself both calmed and claustrophobic. One night he tells me, plain as a bell, "You belong to protection now." The way he says it, soft, unyielding, changes everything. The language is ugly in my ears and sweet all at once. Belong. As if I am a thing he keeps in a room because it's valuable and fragile. As if I am also a person he vowed to hold. Do I have a choice? I demand. You always do, he answers. I only make it easier to stay. That's the thing about darkness meeting need. It's a bargain you don't see when you sign. I came out of a street that wanted to swallow me, and found a man who wrapped me up and called it protection. I'm safer, yes. I sleep some nights without counting my breaths. I laugh in small ways, a cracked laugh at movies with my coworkers. My mother gets better care. We eat. Those are facts. But sometimes, in the quiet when Callan is not physically beside me, when his truck is a memory on the empty street, I touch the bruise near my temple and think about the cost. I think about the day he told me he'd make things small. I think about how easy it would be to hand him everything if he asked, and how terrifying it is that he might never ask, because possession does not always need consent written on a piece of paper. It can be quieter, softer, harder to walk out of. When he leans down to place a coat over my shoulders on a cold evening, the motion is tender and possessive all at once. I want to pull away. I want to lean in. My body answers before my head. Stay, he whispers. Not a command. A plea wrapped in authority. I know something true and terrible. I will stay because this place of safety is the only home I can remember after the night the world broke. I will stay because the alternative is the curb and the taste of my own blood. I will stay because he is the man who picked me up, the man who made a map out of danger, and the man who refused to let me be anonymous meat in the dark. That is the bargain. That is the cost. That is the dark of it, and the only light I can trust. I do not know if what I feel is gratitude or love. Maybe both are braided into something that will either save me entirely, or keep me caged in a gilded space. For now, Callan's thumbs rub the skin under my cheek in a motion that is both question and answer, and I let myself believe that maybe, in the terrible calculus of our lives, belonging to his protection is enough.